My secret shame. It's not this straw hat. It's necessary because the glare on my forehead was distracting me. I'm like, I need to show the internet that I'm a stable, well-rounded cat. I'm gonna put on a straw fedora.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get respect up on the street.
I realized a lot of people commit to things based on the time that they give it. Time is our most precious commodity here on this world. I don't want to get too deep, but it is what it is. And so the more time you give something and you come out on the other side, I feel like innately that you want to justify it to yourself. And that's where these games, they get their hooks into you. So, cause a friend said to me, you should play Mass Effect, because I said, I love BioWare, I love KOTOR, I love Baldur's Gate, like, you know, their storytelling is second to none. And they said, oh, play Mass Effect. And I said, yeah, I had it on PlayStation and I played number 1, I didn't like the shooting. And they're like, yeah, shooting in number 1's garbage, but you gotta get through. Number 2 is good. And I was like, oh, so you're gonna play one that you won't like, and then, but number 2 is great. And like, yeah. Number 3 though, it's ending, it's not, you know, it's a little bit funny. I'm like, okay, so I'm going bad, good, like really good, kind of disappointed with ending. You know, I've lived with Fallout 3, maybe I can take a bad ending or 2, and they're like, yeah, but Andromeda, that's shit. I'm like, wait, so like there's one solid entry that you're speaking up. I have to go through 3 shit games with God knows how many hours in these RPGs. What? Why would I do that to myself? People do it with TV series as well. They say to me, dude, you gotta watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., bro. I'm like, when only 2 series is out, you know, 2 seasons. And I was like, oh, okay. What's up with that? And they're like, yeah, season 1's kind of shit and slow, but season 2's where it's picked up. And I'm like, why would I spend half of the show not liking it to let it ramp up? Like, there's this weird, again, I call it like gaming Stockholm syndrome. For me, it was Final Fantasy VIII. Every Final Fantasy player knows the first one that you complete it gets you, right? But it was the grindiest game, and I can't for the life of me remember what I like about it outside of the music. I was trying to show the missus the other day the trailer for it, and I was like, what does that make you feel? Because I was going to make a music of Final Fantasy video. She's like, nothing. And I was like, nothing? Oh my god, you have no idea what you're missing out on. The story, the characters, the gameplay. And then I stopped for a second and I went, wait a second. I played Final Fantasy VIII for 68-ish hours, 69, hello. And I got stuck on a boss fight that I couldn't beat in a place. It was Adele on a ship in space, so I couldn't go backwards and grind, and I got stuck. It's happened a couple of games, so not only did I have to go back, but I restarted the game. I used 176 pages of paper to print like the game FAQ, and I completioned it. So like over 120 or 50 hours, I think, for the whole, everything. It's not fun. The combat, the waiting system is not fun. Squall, the main character, is kind of a dickhead. He's a loner, he's angsty. I mean, as a kid, you can relate, but again, you put so much time into it, you want to defend its good properties. So I'm like, oh, Triple Triad, what a card game. If somebody put a gun in my head and like, play Triple Triad, I'd be like, really? Do I have to? Because I only played that card game for like over 10 hours or whatever, just to get special Guardian Forces to, you know, be a completionist. Like, it was shit. Plus, the wait time. I don't know who likes turn-based combat, but never again. I've made some promises to myself in my life. Now I'm like, I will not do turn-based combat again unless, you know, enjoying a KOTOR. I will not play a grindy MMO and pretend that, you know, it's really cool. It's so strange because in the early days of gaming, your Nintendos and Super Nintendos, a lot of games relied on the illusion of longevity through difficulty. So they would just be fucking hard, and you'd have 3 lives, you die, it's done, no saves, and that way you kept playing it because you had to learn everything, and you had to learn through failure. When they got over that hump through technology, they went, oh shit, how do we make games longer? Let's make them a fucking grind fest, dude. And, you know, the games up until that point, a lot of them in my life, like Super Mario World was great, Super Metroid was a little grindy, there was a lot of backtracking, but it wasn't as prevalent as you sit into a Final Fantasy and you're like, there was a weight in my head of, I would rather grind this game out than see the light of summer as a kid. Like that's what happened, I think, as a gamer. You're just like, give me an escape from reality. I will do anything. And so you're like, thank God there's 120 hours of content. Again, because you don't have the money to keep buying games. So you're like, okay, this one game, take me to church because, you know, I don't want to deal with reality. That was the game that I played it, and I was like, man, I am a gamer now. And I would cluck my tongue at people. People, you know, play Candy Crush, and like, you don't know shit about gaming. Play some Final Fantasy. Now that, you know, time is precious to me, I'm like, I'm never playing Final Fantasy again. I'm happy that it's not like Mass Effect, a series where there's, you know, the next one, the sequel, etc., because I'd have to start over again. I think I got to number 10, and I was like, no more, screw that. When I see like a boy band bunch of dickheads flying around the city or whatever, I'm like, yes, thank God that doesn't look appealing to me. I don't want to go back to any game like that. Star Wars Galaxies is another one. I had the best times as a kid in Star Wars Galaxies in the beta, but it's the grindiest thing. You had to macro and write script as a bot and leave a second computer on to do the jobs to make the money for the economy to work. And if I play SWTOR, which totally alleviated that, didn't really make a good economy, I was disgusted. I'm like, you don't earn anything. And I think it is that exchange of your time. You feel a sense of pride of, you know, earning things. Microtransactions robs you of that, so you're like, well, there's nothing earned and I don't care. I'm not sure where this is going in, you know, the realm of gaming, but I do know I've been walking around like the King of England, just clucking my tongue saying Final Fantasy VIII was the shit, when, yes, CD1 was a lot of fun and it made a lot of sense, but the story goes so bizarro. It's like, you know, Chinese, sorry, that's weird. Japanese video games tend to have this weird twist, and it's kind of like a cutesy thing, you know, like Cowboy Bebop. It's on the rails, but there's little things that make it's a weird cultural thing that, again, it's hard to say to somebody, oh, watch an anime, unless they're invested. You got to get through all the seasons, then you're in the know. Why did I tap my eyeball? Then you're in the know. Really strange. The story, though, was really grounded for the first disc, and I hired it from the local store on a friend's recommendation, and it totally made sense. And then it just went bizarro ultimatia. I read the Final Fantasy VIII story about Squall being dead and the rest being in his head. It made so much sense. I was nearly in tears. I'm like, thank you. The orphanage shit in Ultimation made no sense. Cypher should have been banging Rinoa, and it was all Squall's little fantasy because he had no social skills. But the same shit happens like Metal Gear Solid 4. I was like, okay, Metal Gear's kind of weird. And then, you know, Liquid's like, old Snake, you're thinking, oh, he's like Clint Eastwood. Then he sees Liquid Ocelot, and Liquid's like, activated. And he's like, Liquid, Metal Gear. And by the end, you're like, what? Fox alive? Fox, a 9-year-old saved us through who am I? What is happening? I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 stars because I'm too scared, because I don't know where I fit in the universe anymore, because this whole game, like, it's just messed with my head. So, I don't know if you guys can relate. This is an impassioned rant from a gamer who I've given thousands of hours of my life to video games, some of which are deserving of the highest of critical acclaim and have changed my life for the better. Even these ones have changed me for the better in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of learning. But at the same time, it's so fascinating that as I get older, the more I reflect, the more I'm like, why do I like these things? You can poke a hole through a lot of the flimsy that you believe is like what makes a video game good, and what actually is just a very smart design to keep you engaged, and almost like in a low-level addiction, where at some point, if you invest, I believe you're gonna have to say either this thing is dope, that's why I put my time in, or I'm an idiot, that's why I put my time in, and people would rather go with the former than the latter. That's my 2 cents, and I just want to discuss, because the beauty of this video is just the start of the discussion. I love for video game surrounds, and it binds us together. So let me know in the comments below if you have a similar experience and which series has held you hostage and you've been walking around being like, this is... Okay guys, let me level with you. Because if you love video games, I want to talk to you about it. It's as simple as that, my friends.